Identity is complicated. Older generations saw things somewhat more simply. Someone was black or white, colored or not. There was no intersectional lens. Identity politics were simple. Tokenism was easy. The younger generations see the texture of who a person is differently. It's about the full story of their heritage and individuality. Kamala Harris is a black woman, but she's also a Brahmin, the top of a caste system which was frequently compared to the South African apartheid. Her family, her caste in India, were the ones oppressing. She grew up going to a Hindu temple where she worshipped or was instructed in the worship of peculiar gods that most Americans have never even heard of. The other side of her family is Jamaican and Baptist. That side of her heritage comes from centuries of oppression. Oppression that her father claimed came from his ancestor, Hamilton Brown, and was presumably visited upon by the less fortunate ancestors. I've seen Senator Harris called a black woman. I've seen her called an Asian American. But none of that really explains who she is. She's all of her experiences. She's the daughter of highly educated, presumably well off professionals. She's a woman who grew up with the Canadian healthcare system. She's an attorney, which makes figuring out what her nomination means difficult. Who are we going to get? Someone whose family believed that their bloodline made them superior? Or someone who knows equality is the only way forward for America? I really don't know. A lot of pundits are saying that Harris is incredibly liberal. On Fox News, I heard them say that she was further left than Bernie Sanders, which is not true at all. Harris had a chance to prosecute people like Mnuchin during the last recession. They violated the law, they took people's homes illegally for profit. She let them get away with it. She didn't prosecute them. Her office argued to keep people locked up for use as cheap labor. She said she had no idea that her office made that argument. But is that a defense, even if you trust her statement? And her general record on criminal justice is all over the place, arguing against body cam legislation, arguing for the criminalization of truancy, and also against the legalization of marijuana, and so on. She's on the record opposing sex work and actively campaigned against legislation which would have decriminalized sex work. And then there are bright, progressive, beautiful moments in her career. The Back on Track program her office instituted allowed first-time offenders to get a high school diploma and a job instead of jail time. She pushed back against the three strikes law, allowing many to escape lifelong sentences for minimal offenses. She even instituted racial bias training for the police and requiring the police to wear body cams as a matter of DOJ policy. So what are we getting? Someone tough on crime? Someone moderate? Or someone progressive? We don't know until we get it. But we do know one thing, and we know it both logically and viscerally. The alternative is Trump and Pence. I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris. I'm going to drive anyone I know who needs a ride to vote for Kamala Harris. I will make phone calls and do whatever needs to be done to ensure that come next January, Biden is sworn in as president and that Trump is escorted off of White House premises. I don't know that Kamala Harris and Biden will be progressive. They definitely are not my dream team, but I know they won't be as destructive as the current administration to our national ethos and well-being. Some movement towards ending climate change will happen, workers will have some level of protection, and the Department of Justice won't be arguing that LGBT persons have no right to workplace protections or medical care. The White House won't be trying to end Obamacare or caging children like animals. In any other circumstances, I would be arguing against voting for moderates. This isn't really that. This is voting for science during a pandemic. This is voting for basic equality over prejudice and oppression. This is voting for our country. Everyone on the fence or thinking about a third-party vote needs to ask themselves why their neighbors are dying from a disease that every other major nation has fairly well controlled. They need to ask why Republican senators went on vacation while they went into work. They need to vote.